If you're in the miles and points game, I'm sure you get bombarded with emails and ads from a lot of these airlines saying you can buy their points at a hefty bonus. To us credit card enthusiasts though, this doesn't seem like the most enticing option. Why spend a few $1,000s on getting some points when you can just get a welcome bonus, pay an annual fee, and get the same number of points that way? This constant bombardment did make us a little bit curious though. We really thought about if there were any times it was really worth it to buy some points. After doing a ton of research looking at redemption values, tracking cash prices for a bunch of different routes, and finding out how much each point is really worth, we came up with a few different findings. Hey guys, just before we get into the video, we just want to mention that this video is a little bit more technical than some of our other videos, so if you guys have any questions or anything, be sure to let us know in the comments below. And I guess if you see a question from somebody else and you know the answer to it, be sure to just give them an answer and help each other out, because I think that's the way this community grows. Thanks guys. Welcome back to the CreditVerse channel. If you're new here, my name is Airline, and today we're going to be diving into the world of buying points. We're going to talk about a few times when you definitely shouldn't buy points, and we'll also talk about a couple where it may make some sense to actually spend some hard-earned dollars on getting some points. Now the first thing on when to not buy points is when they're on sale. I know we're all just trying to find the best deal, but it often makes very little sense to just buy some points because they're on sale. This is for two main reasons, which I'm going to try to explain without my econ brain running a bit too wild. The first one is devaluation risk. Devaluation risk is pretty much just the chance that your point gets devalued over the course of you owning it before you spend it. This would happen by an airline increasing the number of points it takes to redeem a single route compared to when you bought the points. Say for example, Air Canada set a specific route at 50,000 points and it costs $8,000 in cash to book the exact same route. Right now, you're getting 2 cents per point. Let's say now they increase how much it costs to book this route by 10,000 points. So it's 60,000 points for this exact same route, and it still costs $8,000 in cash. Instead of your points being worth 2 cents per point, they're now worth 1.67 cents per point, which is a 17% devaluation. We've seen this several times over the past couple of years. It's pretty easy to expect a point getting devalued every 12 to 18 months. We've also seen the fact that these big bonuses come out every so often, so you don't really feel super compelled to hop on the first one you see, because more likely than not, there's going to be a pretty strong offer when you're actually needing the points to book a certain route. The second reason why buying points just when they're on sale isn't really great is just because of something called liquidity risk. Liquidity risk is pretty much just the fact that you're turning your very, very liquid dollars you can spend on anything you want into very, very illiquid miles you can only really spend on things offered by the airline. In the case that, for example, you don't find some award space on some routes you're looking for on the dates you want, you're kind of just stuck holding on to a ton of these miles instead of having a bunch of cash that you can instead just spend on booking this with any carrier you choose. With that out of the way, let's now talk about a couple of ways where it actually might make sense to spend your hard-earned dollars on some miles and points. We're going to talk through 3 different ways where it can actually possibly make sense. The first is definitely the easiest, and just topping up your account with a few more points you need for a specific redemption. For example, if you're looking to maximize your business class seat time, taking a route from Houston to Manchester to Singapore in Singapore Airlines business class for 87,500 points is the best way to do that. If you're just missing out on a few points here or there, it could make sense paying $50 or $60 to top up your points and just make this redemption right away before waiting for your next statement to come in when the seat will probably be gone. Now the second time where it could make some sense is when you're willing to pay cash for a certain flight, but just buying the points and redeeming is just a little bit cheaper. A slight offshoot of this could also be when you're not willing to pay the full cash fare for a flight, but you're willing to pay how much it costs to buy the points, which would make it make sense. This usually makes sense for programs that have fixed award pricing or for premium heavy routes that have very, very high cash values. An extreme example where this could save you something like 40% or like $8,000 could be when you're booking something aspirational like Emirates first class. From Toronto to Dubai, this would cost you $19,500 round trip if you paid with cash. When looking on Air Canada, you can also see that it costs about 319,000 points one way, plus a few dollars in taxes and fees to get the same route. Currently, you can purchase Airline points at a 100% bonus, so the 638,000 points required at 1.75 cents per point would cost you just about $11,000. This equates to savings of $8,300 or about 42%. A slightly more modest example would be when you're trying to book the world's longest flight from Singapore to New York City. This costs $6,700 round trip in business class. If you do the exact same thing with Airline points, it costs you 87,500 points each way. I'd have to say this is exceptional value for 38 hours in business class. Anyways, this sells to about 175,000 points at 1.75 cents per point. This would run you $3,062, so you'd save about $3,600 if you just buy the points instead of just booking cash directly. There's a few things to consider though before you just buy these points. First is making sure there actually is award space for the dates you're looking for on the routes you want. As with any time you book on points, you have to be looking at least 6 months out or very, very last minute when a few extra award seats are released. I know a mistake that so many people make is just seeing on, on an article or a YouTube video that you can book a certain route for a certain number of points and assuming that, they just be able to book that on any given day. This unfortunately isn't the case, and a lot of people just end up buying some points and then they're just sitting in their account because they didn't find award space and are just kind of stuck holding the points in that program. So please, 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 before you buy any points, make sure there is award space available and then just buy the points, as the transaction is really, really quick and there generally won't be any real delay between you buying the points and getting them in your account. Second is that you don't get insurance when booking with points compared to when booking with cash on most credit cards. A way to get around this is by buying the travel insurance directly from the provider, even when you're paying with points. Or you could also just use a co-branded card that gives you the ability to get award insurance on routes booked with points. There's also a couple of other cards in the Canadian market that give you award insurance on all bookings. It doesn't really matter what points you're using, like the National Bank World Elite MasterCard, so perhaps consider picking one of those up. Before we get into the final way where it may make sense to buy some points, if you are enjoying the video thus far, be sure to give it a like, and if you want more content like this delivered straight to your sub box, be sure to hit subscribe. The third and final way we're going to talk about today is acquiring points for a program that's hard to access for us Canadians. For example, if you're looking to fly Korean Air business class, it costs 62,500 points one way. But unfortunately, there's no cards in Canada where you can transfer your points out to Korean Air. Something you could perhaps do is use Marriott points and transfer those over, but the ratio tends to be pretty bad. As it's also a little bit tricky to find partner award space on Korean Air, what you could just end up doing instead, if you really, really want to book this route, is just buy the points when a good bonus comes around and make sure there's award space available. This may not be the best value at the end of the day if you really think about it, but if there's something you really, really want to fly that's hard to access with Canadian credit cards, it might make sense to just buy some points and call it a day. With that, we're going to wrap up today's video. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want more of us discussing miles and points, be sure to let us know in the comments down below. As always, be sure to like and subscribe, and with that, we'll see you next week. Take care.